Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, December 1st, 2015. I am Dan Rubin, joined often on Tuesdays, as I am today, by Duane Long. Duane, how are you this fine morning?
Oh, just still basking in the glow of another Michigan win. We weren't really expecting it. We didn't know what was going to happen here, and another one, and they're always sweet.
We do have a lot to talk about today. There's so much going on, but we are going to start with Saturday's domination. Duane, I've told people this. I involuntarily yelled out loud twice at the television, domination, during the second half of the game. Ohio State certainly imposed its will on Michigan. You said just a minute ago that it wasn't expected. I did expect Ohio State to win. I certainly didn't expect it to come in that fashion. How do you explain what you saw relative to what you saw the week before against Michigan State?
Well, you have to look at the one thing that I believe has been a short circuit all year, and that is, what changed? We had, I've called it 8/11ths of a Ferrari coming back, and we took so long to find stride. Well, what was missing? Well, Herman was missing. That was a difference, and we finally got these guys after looking so bad, looking like. The word incompetent comes to mind when you look at what we saw offensively against Michigan State. So what did change? And you have to look at Urban Meyer got these guys together, sat down and said, look, you figure it out. Don't worry about anything else. Just you figure out what's going on. And I don't know how, the two guys in the booth, I don't know what happened, but this was a team we've been expecting all year. And it's really going to be too bad if that team, which I believe is the best team in the country, doesn't make the playoffs. We need a couple of things to happen. And I believe that the Buckeyes belong in there. I believe that Ohio State and Alabama are the two best teams in the country. Clemson has been just a little bit too vulnerable defensively. I believe that those are the two best teams in the country this year. I thought they were last year. And, it's just going to be a shame if the Buckeyes don't make the playoffs. But I got to go back to what is going on the sideline. Why all of a sudden did we see this team become what we thought they were? And I think it goes back to the coaching staff. The players did not suddenly become they were great once and all of a sudden they became great again. No, it had to do with what was going on the sideline.
To me, I thought it was the one game I've watched this year where I really felt like it was last year. I don't know why. It was that vibe where they were wearing the opponent down physically, and a lot of that comes from the offensive line. To me, it was by far their best performance of the year, and I assume you agree.
Oh, it looked like what we did last year to Alabama and Oregon. It really did, just dominated them, physically blew them off the ball. Look how many times Zeke's touched the ball. What was it, 36 times? So at some point, Michigan had to know he was coming, and they couldn't do anything about it. That is, to me, that's beautiful football. You can enjoy the passing game. I know I do, watching those superior athletes going up, making plays on the ball in the air. But there's just, to me, that's football, what we saw Saturday. Just line up and knock people on their butts and move them. It was beautiful. And they did. It was just physical domination. Look how many Michigan players got carted off the field. I mean, they just absolutely Zeke took a number 25, number 26, one of the safeties out who tried to tackle him. He nearly killed Jabril Peppers on a block.
I know, that was incredible.
It was, the guy, is he still airborne? He still might be. They may need to go call the air traffic controller and bring that guy down.
We put that clip. We put that clip on the site, and if you watch it, you can tell that Peppers had no idea he was going to get blocked, and when he hit the ground, it hurt.
Yeah, when they hesitate a little bit and then seem to detach a little bit once they get up from the game, yeah, he got nailed, and it happened all game. So to me, that's beautiful football.
Agreed. I
370 yards rushing.
Yep.
That's wow. You don't do that to Michigan. You do that to Utah State. You know, you don't see that much against Michigan. But look how many games in a row now Ohio State's done that to Michigan. Just run right at them and beating on them. I think it's at least 3 games running, maybe 4, where the rushing has been over 300 yards. So it wasn't just beating Michigan; it was the way we did it. Just pounded them out. Woody would have been proud of this effort. Absolutely.
No question. Speaking of the offense, though, I think you touched on what is, without question, the number one topic among Buckeye fans, and that is the offensive staff. Aside from discussing the possibility of getting to the playoffs, I can't tell you the number of people that I can sometimes tell what's going on by how many of my friends contact me on my phone and complain, some of the ones who don't usually complain. There's real angst out there about this. I'm not sure it's accurate, but a lot of the blame is going towards Tim Beck, actually. I don't know why. Warner doesn't seem to be getting much of it. Do you think Tim Beck will survive the off season, and do you think he should come back?
Well, this game throws that into a quandary. Where did they finally find the rhythm, the stride? Did they figure it out? And if that is true, then why shake things up? You don't want the shake up is not good. Who knows if the next guy is going to be better? We don't know. What we know is that for this game, we see a staff that was working. So I think you give them another game before you even think about that. If we see the same kind of offense, then we get to chalk it up as just transition pains, and we don't want to go through transition again. So leave it alone. Let's see what happens in, at least the Rose Bowl and maybe the playoffs, and not mess with this. Let's not make change just to make change. We don't like what happened, so let's change. Well, okay, maybe we figured it out. I still think we need to give that at least another game to see if that's what it is. It's just a matter of these guys finding their stride.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the patience is needed here. The only thing that somewhat irks me is that whoever the offensive coordinator is now is going to be largely tasked with developing the next quarterback. So if there's not improvement or there's not a consistency from the last game, this is the guy that's going to be working with Joe Burrow hand in hand for the next, that's my choice, obviously, for the next X number of years. So it's a very important decision. Speaking of important decisions, there's rumors of exodus on the staff. There's talk of Chris Ash possibly going to Syracuse. Is this just going to be part and parcel, you think, every year now for the Buckeyes, the amount of success they have, just fighting off assistants heading to other spots?
It's the way it should be. It's the way it should be, Dan. You have to have quality assistants. I think that is what absolutely doomed John Cooper. Ohio State wasn't paying salaries back then. Guys are making sideways moves. He kept getting his best assistants picked off. In the Tressel era, the guys are getting picked off, and I still believe that it played a role in Ohio State not being what they could have been under Tressel, as he was picking friends instead of great coaches to add to his staff. It was always about who he trusted, who he felt good about, rather than who was a good coach. Well, Urban Meyer's got a completely different attitude about that. Go get the best coach he can get. Seems to be his attitude. So you just expect it. The turnover is going to happen if you're getting quality assistants. So you just deal with it. You'd rather not. Long-time assistants, like I said, about transition, you really don't want it. You want your coaching staff to stay as cohesive as possible. But the fact is, quality assistants are going to get hired by other people. I don't know if it's Syracuse or not. I don't know if that's a great job. I think Ash could wait for a better job. But he's the kind of guy that I just can't believe that Ash is going to be back next year. I just can't believe that. So we'll see what's going to happen. Is Fickle going to get the outright job again? Has he learned enough? And we just hire a secondary coach. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But I expect Ash to go, and it's just something we're going to have to get used to around here.
This is really, really important stuff. I mean, I don't know, some people don't think the exact coaching hires and stuff are that important. When Urban Meyer took over, and we were all ecstatic, obviously, someone I know who knew Meyer said, listen, he's great. He's a great coach, and your initial run is going to be incredible. But this guy's feeling was that what took, and I've said this before, what took down the Florida regime of Meyer, among other things, is that he didn't do a great job of replacing the assistants that he relied on when they left and did too much himself, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think he's doing that this time. I think he's gotten over the workaholic, do everything yourself aspect of it. But he's going to be under the gun here. I think we can all agree that Chris Ash was an upgrade over Everett Withers. I'm not sure I would say the same about Tim Beck and Tom Herman. So Meyer will be under pressure to replace him or whoever, or Chris Ash, whoever leaves the staff. So those are really important things to follow. On the other hand, another thing that everyone's following is the playoffs. Obviously, Ohio State will find out. We'll find out where the standings are tonight when they get announced, and we'll have everything covered here on Bucknuts for that. I think a lot of people think Ohio State still has a chance to get in. I thought it was really just a question of if North Carolina beats Clemson, North Carolina or Ohio State. For what it's worth, I just don't think there's any way Florida will beat Alabama. But now there seems to be some sentiment that a 2-loss Stanford team would get in over Ohio State because they won the Pac-12. The only way Ohio State's getting in is if North Carolina beats Clemson. So if that happens, what's your argument for the Buckeyes?
If North Carolina beats Clemson, first my argument is the team we saw play Michigan is the best team in the country. Nobody is more complete offensively and defensively. Alabama can't throw the ball. Alabama can't. That's just one of those things. Alabama hasn't thrown the ball well since Joe Namath was quarterback. That's just not. That's a big thing. Ohio State is the most complete team in the country. Got the best punter in the country, even. So even in the special teams, a little concerned about the kicking game, the place kicking game, but Ohio State's the best team in the country. That's the argument. We finally saw that team. My argument has been, ever since we lost to Michigan State, that not making the championship game like we did last year, because that's what vaulted us into the Final Four last year, was that big showing against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. I don't think we were going to make it in without that. We needed that game. We needed to be there Saturday just to show the committee again. It would have been nice. I think we would have surely gotten in if we went in there and won against an undefeated Iowa. But we don't get that opportunity. I still think we're the best team in the country. We need some help here. I believe North Carolina could beat Clemson. I think Clemson's defense has not been consistently good all year. I think North Carolina's on one hell of a roll right now, scoring a lot of points, playing real good football. I watched them a few weeks ago, and look what the Duke had been solid. Good season last year. North Carolina just rolled them. North Carolina's playing really good football. It's going to be a game I want to sit down with a cold one and watch, regardless. But I think it's key that we get in. There's no way Florida's not a very good football team right now. Not since they lost their quarterback. If they had him, I can't remember, the kid got himself suspended, they would have a shot there. Michigan State, Iowa.
Will Greer.
Will Greer. I think that the one that Oklahoma's in, that's one good thing about them having their season finished is their body of work stands for itself. They don't have to take a chance on when you're already in. You want the games to end. So they're in. It's everything comes down to Clemson, North Carolina. I think the Buckeyes are in if that happens. The Stanford talk, the two-loss Stanford, one of them is the Northwestern. I'm sorry, that's just not good enough. Stanford is not, the Pac-12 is not a good conference. Had a short discussion with a guy on the board about the Pac-12, the best conference. How can you come up with that? Based on what? Who is good in the Pac-12 other than Stanford? You know, Oregon is starting to play better football, but they're still. I mean, Utah ran them out of their own ballpark early in the season. Oregon's not great. The Pac-12 doesn't rate right now. With the disarray in the SEC, which nobody can argue the SEC is the best conference this year. It's Alabama and everybody else down there. The Big Ten has been a better conference. I would say you could argue that the Big 12 has been a better conference with Baylor and you know, to me that's just not possible, Dan. That Stanford with two losses would get picked over Ohio State based on what we've seen all year. Stanford has just disappeared in a couple of games and gotten beat. So yeah, I think Ohio State's in with a North Carolina win.
I agree. I mean, I was incredulous about the Stanford angle. I had people text me about that earlier on before this chatter started. I said it's an irrelevant game, the USC Stanford game. Now I find out it's relevant. And I know Heather Dennis does a good job for ESPN. And by the way, story time with Dan, I hired her to be a reporter about 15 years ago for about 3 hours. But that's a story for the premium version of the BM5. But still, it's a shame because I do think Ohio State's the best team in the country right now. And the real shame of it is Alabama, their resume is not any better than Ohio State's. I'm sorry. The eye test bump they got was, relatively speaking, not fair because you look at the teams that their biggest bump this year publicly was after the win over LSU, which turns out as a one-trick pony and almost fired their coach. So perception, I guess, is going to be reality, and Ohio State might get screwed. My only hope is that they just end up deciding Ohio State versus North Carolina, and just kind of the icon of Ohio State overwhelms them.
Well, you got a couple of minor leaguers in there on the North Carolina win total. Those
exactly.
So I think that matters. Yeah, you got a couple of wins there that, like I said, minor league teams. So we got to keep that in consideration. I absolutely believe the committee will look into that. But we need somebody. We need one of them to lose, and the only one that I really have confidence in is North Carolina beating Clemson. And I really think they can beat them. That's not wishful thinking.
I'm with you. I said it in the Bucknuts 90 as much as a month ago. I think North Carolina is just playing better than Clemson right now. So we shall see. We appreciate Duane taking the time. Kind of a longer BM5 today. Enjoy it, people. And don't forget, later on tonight when the playoffs are announced and the final or the update to the 4, we'll have it for you here with bells on. Go Bucks.